They tested you. Maybe they ignored you to see if you'd react. Maybe they pushed a boundary to see where it broke. Maybe they said something deliberately cruel, just to watch you flinch. And here's what they expected. A response, an emotion, a sign that they found the lever that moves you. Here's what they didn't expect. Nothing. Your silence. And the moment you gave them that, the moment you offered no reaction, no defense, no visible wound, something shifted. Something broke inside them that they are still trying to understand. This video is about that moment. What happens psychologically when you refuse to react? Why it creates a fear most people cannot name, and why, without exception, the people who test the silent man always end up regretting it. They didn't lose because you fought back. They lost because you didn't need to. Here is something most people never examine. When someone decides to test you, to push your limits, challenge your character, or provoke a reaction, they are not operating from a position of strength. They are operating from a position of need. They need to know where your edges are. They need confirmation that they can move you. They need the emotional satisfaction of triggering you, because triggering you is the only way they can feel powerful around you. This is what behavioral psychologists call social probing. It's the behavior of people who cannot establish their dominance through genuine value. So they establish it by finding your weakness and exploiting it. But here's the dark truth they never account for. Every probe has an assumption built into it. The assumption that you will react, that you need to defend yourself, that their opinion carries enough weight to disturb your inner world. When you stay silent, when you offer them absolutely nothing, you don't just fail to give them what they want. You destroy the assumption the entire test was built on. You can't rattle a man who has already decided nothing you do matters. Let's get into the psychology, because this is where it gets interesting. When a person provokes someone and receives no reaction, the human brain enters a state psychologists call cognitive dissonance. The expected outcome didn't happen. The model they built of you, predictable, reactive, controllable, collapses in real time. And here is where the regret begins, long before they admit it. Because now they are left with a question they cannot stop asking. What does his silence mean? Does it mean he didn't hear me? Does it mean he doesn't care? Does it mean he's already 2 moves ahead of me and I just gave myself away? That uncertainty is not uncomfortable. It is torturous. Human beings are wired to fill ambiguity with their worst fears, and a man who cannot be read becomes a man who cannot be controlled. And an uncontrollable man is a threatening man. Not because he did anything, but because the other person's imagination turned your silence into something far more dangerous than anything you could have said. The most threatening thing in any conflict is a man who doesn't feel the need to explain himself. Here is the uncomfortable truth that most self-help content refuses to say. When someone tests you, and I mean really tests you, with cruelty or manipulation or deliberate disrespect, what they are actually communicating is that they believe they have something over you, a perceived leverage, a vulnerability they've identified or think they've identified. Every test is a confession. It confesses their own insecurity, their own need for control, their own inability to simply respect someone without first measuring how much they can get away with. And the man who reacts, who argues, defends, explains, or matches their energy, confirms the confession. He says, "Yes, you found something. Yes, this matters to me. Yes, you have power here." The man who stays silent says something entirely different. He says, "I already know what you are, and I've decided you're not worth the energy of a response." That is not passivity. That is a verdict. And verdicts don't argue. The man who tests you has already told you everything about himself. Your silence just makes sure he knows it too. Once you see this clearly, once you understand that every test is a confession and every reaction is a confirmation, you stop fighting the wrong battle entirely. You stop asking, How do I respond to this? You start asking, how do I make sure they never forget what it felt like when I didn't? Because here is what happens after the silence. After they probe and find nothing, after their test produces no emotional return, they are left holding their own energy, their own hostility, their own insecurity, with nowhere to put it. That is where the regret lies. Not in any grand confrontation, not in a moment of public humiliation, in a quiet, private realization, hours or days later, that they revealed everything while you revealed nothing, that they handed you intelligence about themselves while you gave them nothing in return. They tested you, and the only thing they proved was that you cannot be tested. He who does not react cannot be controlled, and he who cannot be controlled cannot be defeated. Here is how you build this into your daily life, starting now. First, recognize the test in real time. When someone says something provocative, disrespectful, or designed to get a rise out of you, pause, name it internally. This is a test. That single act of recognition removes 80% of the emotional charge before it reaches your face. Second, replace the urge to respond with the decision to observe. Instead of thinking, what should I say? Think, what is this person showing me? Every test reveals motive. Let them finish revealing it while you stay still. Third, understand that your silence has a compounding effect. The first time you don't react, they're confused. The second time, they're concerned. By the third time, the word has already spread. Do not test that man. He doesn't break. Fourth, never explain your silence afterward. Not to them, not to anyone. The moment you explain it, you undo it. Silence that needs a caption was never silence. It was a delayed argument. You don't win by making them fear your anger. You win by making them fear your calm. They came to test you. They came with a theory about who you were, what you could tolerate, where your limits broke, how loud they'd have to push before you shattered. They left with something they didn't expect. Doubt. Doubt about whether they read you correctly. Doubt about whether their probe did what they thought. Doubt that will echo in their quiet moments long after they pretended to move on. That is the real victory of silence. Not control, not superiority, not winning an argument. The fact that they are still thinking about you, and you stopped thinking about them the moment they showed you who they were. Stay silent, stay dangerous, stay free.